Maybe to give a sense of where the film heads towards in terms of psychological and physical aspects, I'd like you to show our readers what the International Sign Language sign is for storm, if you remember it.
It's this.
Which is a fun, integral part of the dynamic between the parents and this beautiful child actress that you found.
She's amazing. Tova Stewart plays the daughter Hannah, and as written, I wrote this part for a deaf child, and I knew from the beginning I was like, we can't fake that. We're gonna have to find a deaf child. I didn't know that we would end up picking a young actress that had deaf parents as well. So it made it a very interesting way to work. Intimidating from the beginning, but during the process, she was so smart and so intuitive that I can't remember one instance where it affected the pace or the speed or at which we were moving, which was very fast. Through this production, like just a smart girl.
Michael mentioned that he took on the role because he didn't have much work to do, but I imagine learning a new language is fairly difficult.
He did. More of that pressure went on Jessica, on the mother. And it's not very clearly stated in the film, but the deafness in their daughter is a newfound thing. It never mentions it, but the backstory is that she had meningitis and become deaf.
Okay.
So this is even though she's 6, it's only been in their lives for a couple of years, and so they're still kind of fumbling with this new thing in their lives, and Samantha, who spends more time with the daughter, knows more sign language naturally, and Mike, as the film progresses, he kind of comes out, and you see him working with it a little bit more, and understanding it a little bit better. But
Normally, when I interview female filmmakers that haven't done films in years, it's because they had a child or something like that, which was the case for you, and perhaps one of the things that led you to maybe nightmare or scenarios for yourself.
It was tricky. I wrote this film in August of 2008 during my first year of marriage, so our son was still a ways away.
Okay.
And so it didn't play into the creation of the script.
Okay.
However, my wife was like 8 months pregnant when I left for 6 weeks to go to Ohio to shoot this film. Not an easy thing to do. And then I came home. I had about 3 weeks. It took that amount of time for us to set up our offline edit suite. And the day I got my offline edit suite set up, my son was born. And so this whole post process has been trying, to say the least. Because you're not sleeping at all, staying up with your child. I don't know if you have any kids, but the first 2 months are terrifying. You're just like, I don't want him to die. Like, I don't want to do anything that ends this. Like, I just want to keep him alive and feed him. And to have that, also every 2 weeks it seemed like we had a new deadline for this film. It was like, we have to get the effect scenes cut before we cut the rest of the movie because they need to start working on them. Then I have to get a cut ready for Sundance, and I have to get, it was just like, I can't remember a moment in this film where we didn't have, a deadline. Which is very different from Shotgun Stories.
Speaking of Shotgun Stories, I'm really big on auteur theory. I like comparing previous films to current films. You specialize in unease, in tension building. You're from the David Gordon Green factory of small town America with blue collar as a preferred setting. And I think that's where you might be going with your next project, which maybe we'll talk about a little bit later.
I can't say much about it, but
yeah. But what draws you to these settings, these narratives, these characters?
Pretty easy, and I guess you could boil it down to write what you know. But really, when I was younger, I'd write a lot of creative writing, short stories, and I was talking to my dad. I was like, I want to write a movie in New York, and I want to write it about mobsters or some garbage like that. And my dad was like, son, you've never even been in New York. Like, why? You don't know any mobsters. Why are you gonna write about that? And he was like, have you heard of the Dixie Mafia? And then this kind of window opened in my mind, and it was like, what's around me is far more interesting than anything that I could imagine someplace else. And so you just pick up on the experiences around you. I grew up in Arkansas, Although I grew up in Little Rock, which was a city, I was a suburb kid. You know, we spent summers in Altimer, which was a very small town in Arkansas. And then, fortunately, I went to school in North Carolina in a smaller town where we had access to farmland and fields and southern stuff. And David and I both had a professor named Gary Hawkins that was kind of, for me at least, I wouldn't speak for David, but integral in like kind of saying, no, you guys are Southern filmmakers. Find your voice as a Southern filmmaker. You know, that's how I started. You know, and now I think we're both probably just becoming filmmakers.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's always been a point of view that is really valuable.
The collaboration with Michael Shannon. There's one specific scene. It's an emotional wallop. It's beyond the norm. I love this guy, and I would say it's because of your film so far. How was it the second time working with him? He's maybe not more mainstream, but he's accepting more mainstream roles, and he's a busy guy.
He's
and
just
like
getting more famous.
Yeah, he's more famous, rightly so. How is it working with him on this project?
Well, Mike never is affected by that, or at least he never seems to be.
Doesn't,
you know?
yeah.
I mean, it's not why he's doing it, and you can tell. And it's not that he pushes that as an agenda. It's just that's who this guy is. You know, he cares about putting good work up on the screen, and he continually does it. As far as our personal relationship working, I was like, oh, it's gonna be so much easier. Like he liked shotgun stories, you know.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't. When he shows up, you know, he shows up to work. And you have to be on your toes, and you know, and this role in particular, I mean, I just put that guy through the ringer.
You did.
You know, we sandbag him left and right. And
was it shot chronologically?
God,
no.
No, which you know,
the scene that I'm referring to, which I don't want to go into detail here. That scene. How many times did you repeat that one?
We did about 7 takes.
Okay.
On that. We did about 7 takes on that, and we had 2 cameras, fortunately, running. But yeah, you know, I mean, that guy, he's there to work. He's there to do the work.
I love Shannon's character. There's a complexity about him. He's proactive in his life. Like, you never see this in film, where he's proactive. He's trying to figure out...
pragmatic.
Yeah, exactly. How did you come up with that DNA?
I was really just thinking about myself.
And what you would do.
You know, I wrote that part in Shotgun Stories for Mike. I did not write this part for Mike.
Okay.
Maybe I'm stupid for saying that, but I was really just thinking about myself. In a weird way, this is a far more personal film. In terms of like, I was having a lot of this anxiety myself, just kind of growing up and like getting your life on track and realizing how tenuous that is and how easily living paycheck to paycheck you can get knocked off track. There's a lot of stress that comes out of that. I have a great life, I have a great wife. Like, I don't want to mess that up, you know. And that's where I think that's where stress for most people in this world comes from. It's like, you know, they're good people and they want to keep their lives together. And so, you know, writing this character, it was like, okay, well, everybody has that stress. Let's add these other 2 insane factors, you know, dreams, and then this other fear. How would one respond to that? And I think I go to the library when I have to research roles. So he goes to the library, you know, he goes to the doctor, he goes to a counselor. Like, he begins, you know, mapping out, you know, a design for this storm shelter, and needs to get a loan, needs to get a bank loan, you know. It's like, it's very, very pragmatic, which is an important note on his character, because his character's not crazy. His character's methodical. You
did a lot of research. I was wondering in the succession of all these nightmares that he's having, and it's getting closer and closer to the core. Again, I don't want to give away anything on camera, but is that something that's palpable? Did you read about that?
Nope.
No. Okay.
That was just something that felt right.
It's a cool device. I really appreciated that.
Which is tricky because I don't like dream sequences. And I just wrote an entire movie out of it.
The first idea that popped into your mind was the storm shed, right?
Yes.
But then you're an indie filmmaker, Shotgun Stories, a small budget, and then at what point do you know that you want to integrate the special effects from the Strauss brothers? At what point
It was less about saying I want to make a movie with effects, and it was more about I want to make a movie that dabbles in genre elements. I don't want to make a genre film, but you know, the bottom fell out for American independent cinema when Shotgun Stories came out.
Yeah.
You know? It took us forever to even sell that film.
Yeah.
You know, and get the minimal release that it got.
Yeah.
You know, and even though that film was critically, you know, very, very well received, it's not like people were banging down my door to hand me sacks of cash to go make a movie. And, you know, I was talking to people and it was like, well, what do we do? And I realized as an independent filmmaker, we've got to somehow integrate these dramatic stories that we want to tell into some other elements, you know, and I think you're seeing it a lot, having a lot. Black Swan, even with The Hurt Locker, it's like, these are independently minded films with these genre cores, you know, genre elements to them, and this was me trying my hand at that, and that then just ended up having effects, you know, visual effects component.
David Wingo.
How about that?
Excellent job.
David Wingo writes the score for a lot of David Gordon Green's films.
Yeah.
That's how I knew him. He lives in Austin, which is where I live, and we were buddies. And I knew very much from the beginning, because of some of those genre thoughts, that this film needed to be scored. You know, my brother did the music for Shotgun Stories, which I love, but that wasn't traditionally scored. He just wrote a lot of music, and I placed it, and then I would call and say, hey, could it do this? Could it do this? And you know, we did not have a traditional score for that film, which I love. But for this one, I knew it was going to need some emotional support, you know, through score. And I knew from the beginning I wanted strings, and I knew I loved nothing more than an upright bass played with a bow. It's, I don't know, it's the best sound in the world. And David hadn't done scores like that, but he stepped up to the plate. Yeah, and I think it's great.
Yeah, imagine Jessica was proposed by Sarah.
She was, but oddly enough, she's also managed by my management company.
Okay.
And so it was one of those weeks where you hear someone's name, you know, multiple times. And Sarah, though, was the one, and she set up a meeting with me with Terrence Malick, who's there in Austin as well. My idol, never met the guy, you know, and I sit down with him and he just said, Jeff, she's one of the greatest actresses I've ever worked with. And that's pretty much all I needed to hear. And then I flew out to LA and met her, and she was amazing. But even that, you know, I hadn't seen a lot of her work. And then
it's pretty much all coming out
it's all coming
this
out.
year.
Yeah.
Like 7 projects.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
You won't be able to get away from her, hopefully.
I actually checked out the schedule. I think she's going to be at every major film festival in 2011.
I believe that, and she deserves it.
What I like about her role, in comparison to other roles, is that she's not a throwaway wife character.
No, she's actually the pivotal character.
Yeah. Perhaps describe the writing process and how you came up with a strong, supportive character, but she's very much in your face at critical moments.
She's not weak.
Yeah.
You know, I was in my first year of marriage when I was writing this, and although I wanted to write a film about this anxiety, that was kind of this general anxiety in the world, I was really spending my days thinking about marriage and like what it really means to be married and be committed to somebody and how it works and how it doesn't work. And the thing I came up with was, well, communication seems to be the key. And for Curtis, his Achilles heel in this film is that he doesn't communicate his fears with his wife. And it's not until he does that things start to correct themselves a little bit. And so it would make sense that the strongest character in this piece is her. And the question is, you know, does she stay with him? Does she leave him? You know, a lot of people just pack their bags and go, and she doesn't. You know, and that ended up being the emotional core of the film.
Yeah, they're dramatically very strong.
Stone.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. He was in David Green's class. He shot a lot of the second unit photography for George Washington and All the Real Girls. I think Undertow as well.
Yeah.
And his first feature though was Shotgun Stories. You know, and he then did go and he works with Craig Zobel as well, who did Great World of Sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, you know, an artist without a brush. Like that guy is, like he's the guy that kind of, I don't know.
Like like
he gives this creative, you know, these creative ideas a palette to go on. The guy's just a genius.
There's 2 fairly new producers on your main producers on this film. I'm not familiar about them. Perhaps discuss.
One is Sophia Lynn, who was a friend of mine. She was actually, I think, the line producer on Undertow, and I think on All the Real Girls.
Yeah.
So she was part of the gang, and she's based out of New York, and she can make a movie. You know, she just knows nuts and bolts on the ground how to make a movie. And I knew that whoever put the finance together, I knew I wanted Sophia there because I knew no matter what hit the fan, Sophia could sort it out. You know, she would get the movie done. So that's Sophia. The other producer is Tyler Davidson, and he's based out of Ohio, and he put together the lion's share of the financing.
Okay.
Which is why we shot in Ohio.
Okay.
And we just got connected through CAA. You know, he was looking for projects. He's a younger producer that was looking for projects to get on board with, and luckily for me, you know, he saw something in the script and wanted to put all of his time into it, all of his effort and money and everything else.
Is why SPC picked up this film without having seen it, and then I was thinking throughout the film, I was thinking of Todd Haynes' film.
Safe.
Yeah, and then I said, well,
we watched it before we started editing.
If I remember correctly, it is Sony Pictures Classics that distributed that film.
Did they?
They did.
Remember. That
they
makes
did.
Total sense, though.
They did.
Yeah, you know, Sony had their reasons, and I don't have to enunciate all those.
That's
but
fine.
From my point of view, my biggest fear was that this film would be marketed as like a schlocky horror film, you know, and that people that like horror films would go see it and be disappointed, and that people that don't like horror movies would never go see it.
Yeah.
And Sony Pictures Classics, we will not have that problem. They're such an intelligent brand. It's the perfect way to frame this film, because you kind of need to be up for, you know, this isn't an easy film, you know, it's not a McDonald's cheeseburger. You can't just go and eat it fast and then get out of there. Like, you got to invest yourself.
It needs a lot of TLC and to understand. Yeah.
TLC from the distributor and honestly a little patience from the audience. You know, they got to be up for going and investing themselves emotionally in a film. Not everybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But I think Sony Pictures Classics is the perfect company to tee that up for people. You know, I'm really excited about seeing how they do it. To be honest.
Me too. Final question, and you don't have to go into detail if you don't want to, but your next project.
My next project is called Mud.
Yeah.
We're hoping to shoot it this year.
Okay.
And Sarah Green and Aaron Ryder are producing, and it takes place on the Mississippi River. And from my perspective, it's one of my favorites that I've written. I think it's one of the best things I've ever written. And it says kind of everything I want to say about the contemporary American South and a dying way of life and love and relationships and growing up. If you look at Shotgun Stories and Take Shelter and Mud as a kind of a trilogy on contemporary Southern life, which you can't now because we had to take it up to Ohio, to shoot Take Shelter. It was written for Arkansas. If you look at those as a trilogy, Mud is going to be the final statement.
Okay.
You know, not that I won't make films in the South. I already have a few more that I'm working on. But it's the one that puts the period at the end of the sentence.
We're looking at a potential summer shoot, I imagine. You want something that's...
I hope so. We're going after an actor right now.
Okay.
So that will dictate a lot. But yeah, it needs to be shot this summer.
So hopefully a lot of buzz will build from this one, and then you can get that actor. Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank you. Thanks
Fantastic
for all
film.
the support. Really, really
appreciate it.